Greetings today, brethren. We bring the question to the throne, asking YHWH, is it better for me to use offline? We look for an answer in the text itself. The scriptures open before us as a temple of prayer and a house of covenant. We begin our testimony with the lead verse. Luke chapter 19, verses 45 and 46 reads, And he went into the temple, and began to cast out them that sold there, and them that purchased, saying to them, It is written, My house is the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. This sets the tone. The Lord of glory enters his own habitation and finds order disrupted by commerce and noise. He speaks against the intrusion of worldly systems into the sacred space. If the house is to be a house of prayer, the noise must cease. This speaks to the posture of those who seek the face of God. We must not bring the chaotic marketplace into the court of the Most High. To enter this holy place is to abandon the crowd and step into a distinct identity. John chapter 10, verse 37 offers a direct challenge. It reads, If I do not the works of my Father, believe me not. Here we see the separation between the work of the Son and the common deeds of the world. The work of God is marked by a distinct sign. To walk with Christ is to bear fruit that differs from the fruit of the world. This calls us to a life of obedience and distinctive action. It reminds us that our presence among the people of YHWH should be marked by the evidence of his work in our lives. The priesthood has no part or inheritance with their kinsmen, but receives their portion from YHWH alone. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 9 declares, Therefore Levi has no part or priestly inheritance with his kinsmen. YHWH is his covenant inheritance, according as YHWH Elohim promised him. This is a profound declaration of independence. The priest exists for the sake of the altar and the covenant, not for the accumulation of wealth or status among the people. When we choose to serve in this way, we step out of the natural stream of social expectation. We detach ourselves from the pull to make a name for ourselves through popularity or gain. This leads us into a season of wailing and mourning as we leave behind the comfort of the crowd. Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 15 records, YHWH declares, A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and bitter weeping. This is Rachel weeping for her children. There is often grief involved in the separation from the broad way that leads to destruction. It is a sorrowful thing to say farewell to the crowd when they do not understand your calling. Yet this wailing is not without purpose. It is the travail of birth and the beginning of a new inheritance. In this time, we stand firm in our resolve. Genesis chapter 37, verse 27 tells us that so his brothers listened and gave their consent. Joseph was offered up to death by his brothers, but he was delivered. This narrative speaks to the refining process. The spirit of the world offers us an easy path. It seeks our consent to go along with the crowd. But we are called to give consent to the divine plan even when it seems to lead through deep waters. The mathematics confirms what the Spirit has already spoken. We face a deterministic inquiry gate that returns yes. The four directional masses resolve to an affirmative reading of 86% against the cautionary and mixed signals of the remainder. There is no unresolved ambiguity here. The convergence confidence index sits at 97%, crossing all 6 channels with certainty. The global anomaly test yields a p-value far below any reasonable threshold, showing an extreme anomaly. This result is not driven by abstract numbers but by concrete markers found in the text itself. We see alignment at 54%, with 9 direct textual hits where the drawn verses speak to the question in their own words. The thematic polarity balance leans toward the positive side. Covenant keeping, sacred action, and prophetic guidance reach a high standard against any notion of covenant breach. We observe a very strong signal from the Dominion triad. Identity, inheritance, and priesthood co-fire above chance. The priestly channel reads 6.1 sigma, placing it at the center of gravity for this interpretation. This confirms that our position is established as a priestly reality. We are called to stand apart and serve. The sample discipline places this reading in the individual marker tier, but the pattern strength justifies the confidence. The lead margin over the runner-up direction stands at 78%, showing a clear separation between the path of the crowd and the path of the Lord. This is not a suggestion or a matter of preference. It is a verdict based on the weight of Scripture and the coherence of the text. YHWH, it is better for us to use offline. The lead verses drawn in this altar of reception session were Luke chapter 19, verse 45 to 46, John chapter 10, verse 37, Exodus chapter 29, verse 3, Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 9, Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 15, Genesis chapter 37, verse 27. 19 further verses were drawn in this session. This concludes today's interpretation at the altar of